24th. That is the last Sunday of this August. So every doctors or whoever doctors who are all interested are all welcome for the medical camp. Okay. Now the next paragraph is Hahnemann talks about the whole organization of an organism controlled by the vital force or dynamis, and aim of which is to keep the mind and the body axis in perfect control. Yes, the mind and the body should be in perfect harmony. The control of the various systems responsible for the continuity of life is to be kept in control in working condition and in equilibrium. Then and only then the reason gifted mind can use this material body or evolve and change this body for being better and better suited for life. And the higher purpose of life is to change for the better and evolve for better and peaceful existence. So we know that when you give the single dose to a patient, the next day or within a week's time, the generals will improve. The mental generals and the physical generals will improve. The energy levels will improve. The appetite will improve. The sleep will improve. And the patient will be having that motivation to go for his office or to do whatever work he is doing. So this is what we say as the magical cure of homeopathy, and the higher purpose of existence is satisfied there. All these genetic cases, they are not having the higher purpose of existence. They are the unfortunate ones, or the special children. They are the unfortunate ones because they don't have the proper life and they don't know about their higher purpose of existence. So if we are able to give that light, that life in them, that will be the highest boon for us. Yeah. Now we have half an hour left. Can we go to the next chapter, or do we want any discussions here? We go to the soric mentals. We'll finish off at least 1 or 2 pages. We'll try to do that. So that is chapter 16, page number 121. Soric mentals. Very nice chapter. Yeah. A cell is born with a purpose. See, the purpose may be twofold. Jointly with other cell, it may form a continuous sheath called tissue. A cell cannot survive on its own. No? Yeah, it can survive on its own. It is the basic unit of a cell. But in this cell, it joins with other cells and create a continuous sheath called the tissue. This can afford protection to an organ or delicate parts. So the purpose is protection. So that is one purpose of cell, protection. On the other hand, the cell has its own individuality. It has its own functions to perform. It may synthesize enzymes, neurotransmitters, amino acids, or proteins. Besides these twofold obvious functions, so what is the first function? That is the protection. And the second function is it may synthesize, producing certain things, no, like synthesize enzymes, neurotransmitters, etc. Besides these twofold obvious functions, it has a primary function to convert nutritive elements into energy. Among these three functions, the primary function is the most important. That means the conversion of nutritive elements into energy. That is the most important. Both the previous two functions depend entirely on the cell performing in its first function very well. What is the first function or the primary function? That is the conversion of the nutritive elements into energy. A cell thereby has a great liability. The liability is to keep the whole organism healthy. For this, every cell is rewarded back because the whole organism is a social order of 75 to 100 trillion cells. If you help, I help you. If I help you, you help me. This is the motto of a cell. So every cell does its duties and it is benefited in turn. As life goes on, what is important for every being is to conscientiously work. Have you ever heard of this word? Diligence, conscientious. Day in and day out, we see that, no, in our clinic. So for every being, what is that? As life goes on, what is important for every being is to conscientiously work for the purpose for which he or she is born for or exists. A man has to work for his daily bread, they say. If he earns his daily bread, that is food, the source of energy, he will be able to live. He will be able to live and let live. That is the entire thing. There is no amount of selfishness advocated here. I can live alone. No. Live and let live, because man is a social animal. The body is a congregation of cells, and all these cells, it is not the motto of living alone or being selfish and all that. And whatever energy you are bestowed upon is used for the survival of ah, is used for the survival of the entire organism or for the other cells as well. It is the motto of living and let live. This means there will be harmony within and without. Energy so gained is not wasted fighting or quarreling. See, this energy the system within and without becomes more efficacious in a we have to be in the good morals, no? Like all the kama, krodha, moha, lobha, mada, matsya, all these things, like should not be encouraged, huh? So you should be having that sattvic kind of life, no? Am I audible? Yeah. So whatever energy you have should be used in a proper way or in a healthy way, not for your selfish desires or whatever. Okay. As the efficiency increases, less amount of energy is consumed for normal processes. Now we all say, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. Everybody are busy, busy, busy. But everybody has got this 24 hours in a day, right? So increase your efficiency. As the efficiency increases, less amount of energy is consumed for normal processes, for the cooking process, for the reading process, for the whatever, for the exercise or for whatever processes you have in your day-to-day life. So you can use all those things with a very less amount of energy. So you can save a lot of energy, and with this you can achieve more and more. As the efficiency increases, less amount of energy is consumed for normal processes. So you can be doing multitasking with much more efficacy. Energy now can be devoted to higher purpose of to evolve for higher purpose of existence. So every man has to evolve. Until death there is scope of evolution. So you cannot stand in the same level, in the same standard. You have to go beyond, you have to evolve. Mind will be happy, materialistically contented. What does that mean? I want a car. How many cars do you want? One car is enough. Okay, maybe two cars. Keep it. You don't want 10 cars. You don't want 10 watches. You don't want 10 shoes or whatever. The mind becomes materialistically contented and you become happy and can think of things beyond material existence or beyond normal senses, but rationally. You cannot bring in insane theories. That is not allowed. But rationally, everybody has to evolve and everybody has to come beyond the material existence. If a man is to remain healthy, every organ and therefore every cell has to function properly and conscientiously. So, this is what is known as conscientious. That means the sense of right or wrong. So, all this energy, everything can be full day, no? Like you can do the binge watching of the TV or binge watching of whatever series you are watching. Yeah. So, that is not a conscientiousness, no? Right? So, when you have got this much of facilities, if you can make use of the facility for the benefit of your family or for other family or for the society, so that is known as the conscientiousness. Every cell has to function properly and conscientiously. If every cell works conscientiously to produce energy, there will be sufficient energy to carry on normal assigned functions as well as become prosperous and evolve. That means it will be producing more energy. So if you can sit back and relax and do some meditations or do some healthy affirmations every day in the mornings, then a lot of positivity will be there. And the same routine day will be much more energetic, and it will be much more productive, and you will be in a much more better mood and good mood, and to be able to tackle, and all the memories and all the learnings, everything will work you at that moment. And for us, I'm telling you, that particular rubric will come to you, it will strike you, and that the best of the best cures also will be happening in your day to day clinic, in your day to day discussion with your patients. Yeah. This rational thinking leads to the progress of mankind. So, whenever you are put into that rational thinking, or conscientiously when you're working, everything will be following that line, that proper line. From the above facts, we conclude that working for gaining of knowledge, which will help in gaining of daily bread, and working for a cause selflessly can be called as diligent or broadly conscientious. It has a predominant soric hue. So working diligently, working consciously, the best example I can tell is Arya and Atira. Conscious, every time working diligently and conscientiously and selflessly, every time they will pull my leg. Come on, madam, we can do this, or we can keep this seminar, or all this. Many of you people, no, you people are all diligent and conscientious, because we are not expecting anything from this study. It is only a give and take, and we want to impart more and more knowledge to others, and to the benefit of mankind, to the benefit of our patients, by reading and rereading and going into the basics and discussing all possible things. No? So this is the best example of diligent and conscientious. All of us here are diligent and conscientious. Diligently working for materialistic gains. What about that then? For materialistic gains, like the gundas, or like the greedy persons, no? Materialistic gains and greed, and not for the needs, is psychotic. If you're diligently working for the need, it is soric. If you're diligently working for the greed, then you are nothing but a gunda kind of person. Yeah, that will be psychotic and not soric. Overworking, uncontrolled desire to work without caring for life, can be syphilitic. Thus, workaholics can be psychotic or syphilitic. You cannot work 24/7 neglecting your family. So there should be a work-life balance. If there is a work-life balance, then it is soric. So everywhere you have to strike a balance. Anything which is not in the balance, if it is out of balance, what is that? It is syphilitic, or it will be psychosyphilitic. The needs of a cell or a man are sensed by his faculties. How many faculties we have? We have been provided with 5 senses to sense the needs and sense the dangers, the 5 jnanendriyas, all for the purpose of better life. The psychotic needs and syphilitic needs are different. Yeah. So with all these 5 senses, we can sense the dangers, and we can have the escape, or we can fight or flight or do whatever. No, all these things are for our understanding about the dangers. For a soric person, the needs we saw were bare minimum things required to sustain the life. The man's needs are earning daily bread. There is nothing wrong there. We have to eat, no, for survival, and we have to have that basic amount of money, no, for a comfort life. There is nothing wrong in that. Uh, earning daily bread to provide energy. And the second one is knowledge, which ultimately helps him to earn bread, and which also helps him to protect himself. So these are all the soric needs. Similarly, for a cell, the need is oxygen and nutrition, which will provide him energy. When the needs are at a premium, that is, when there is hypoxia or ischemia, the cell starves for it. It wants it but does not get it. The senses are increased. The least amount of oxygen is now welcome. It is something like a girl whose needs are appreciation. Appreciation is the bread and butter here. If her needs are not met with, that is, she does not get the appreciation to her satisfaction, automatically she increases in sensitivity, as if to search for the most minimum sympathy available. So you can see this in such kind of certain girls, no, like Palladium or Ignatia and all that, no. This rise of senses and sensitivity is not selective but collective. So she becomes sensitive to hurt, not only for appreciation. She becomes sensitive to hurt, for reprimands, neglect, as well as pains. This is a state of hypersensitivity. So whenever you are deprived of something, Whenever you're deprived of some basic need, your sensitivity increases to a very high level, and that is called as hypersensitivity. In other words, it is the allergic reactions. Psoric hypersensitivity is controlled, and it differs from the syphilitic hypersensitivity that is uncontrolled. So the syphilitic hypersensitivity can be a pseudosyphilitic exaggeration, or sometimes it can be the hysterical level also, and that those things are uncontrolled. Whereas a psoric hypersensitivity is the controlled one. Body always speaks the mind's language. Body and mind are not two different things, but two poles of the same axis. Thus, the sensitivity is increased also at the body level to give rise to the pain factor. So, whenever there is a hypersensitivity in the mind, the body also responds in the hypersensitive manner. That means it will produce all the allergic reactions upon the skin or the rhinitis kind of thing, or it will give rise to pain factor. The pain factor essentially is psoric. Hypersensitivity of body level can give rise to allergies and hypersensitivity. Thus, rhinitis, bronchitis, asthma, etc., caused by sensitivity to fur, dust, pollens, cold air, or change of temperatures, or any food articles which commonly go under the term allergies, are increased sensitivities. They're all purely of psoric defense. When the skin is scraped or scalded, the upper protective layer is no more present, and the exposed skin is now sensitive not only to sharp pointed or metallic things, but become sensitive to even a silk cloth or a cotton piece. So when the upper layer is gone, then you will be hypersensitive, no? Similarly, a sensitive mind starts getting hurt and offended very easily by matters like jokes and reprimands and rudeness, etc., which otherwise would have gone unfelt and unnoticed. So this only means that you are hypersensitive. That is the reason why you are getting feeling for all these reprimands and rudeness, which would be laughed and forgotten. Why are you taking all these things so seriously? Why are you so oversensitive? Why are you so hypersensitive? Where your needs are not settled, where are your needs compromised? That should be our question. A typical psoric mind, therefore, is very conscientious, sensitive, offended easily. So these are all the reactions of psora, where your needs are compromised and your needs are not satisfied. And this is the reason why you are hypersensitive, why you are offended easily, why you weep easily. And to defend itself from all this, either he shirks away from the hurt. That means it will not be present in the front. It will rather hide, or it will remain backwards, because I cannot tolerate that bombardment, or I cannot tolerate the rudeness, or I cannot tolerate the reprimand. So that anxiety is there, shirks away from the hurt, withdraws from the hurt. So what is that? It is timidity, withdrawal. Then what question comes to the mind? What are the possible things which will happen? No, that kind of an anticipation happens in the mind, apprehension happens in the mind. So it is better that I don't go to the extent where I might get hurt. So that is inhibition. So whenever that hypersensitivity is there, this patient will produce all the defense. Okay, it is better that I don't go there. I have got social inhibition. What if I go to a party? What if I go for a marriage, a wedding invitation? All the aunties and uncles will be there and they will be asking me a lot of questions. So I cannot face them. I am not coming for the marriage function. I am not coming for the whatever social gathering is there. You people go, I will not come. So this is the common dialogue given by the teenagers now. No, what they will say, the other parents or the other uncles and aunties will judge me. Why is that thing? They commonly say, use this term, no? Social inhibition is there. I don't know how to talk, smile. I'm very conscious about myself. Why is it so? Because I cannot tolerate hurt. I cannot tolerate a comment, or I cannot tolerate that body shaming thing. Why? Because you are sensitive. And what are the possible things which will hurt? So this kind of an anxiety will be there. So this can be there, that can be there. So better I don't go there. This state gives a mental picture of timidity, anxiousness, carefulness, going into a shell, finding a cover like calcarea cup, inhibition, apprehension, anticipatory anxiety, etc. So this is how the mental symptom, this is how the mental symptom is This is how the mental symptom is produced. The crux of psoric mental plus physical defense of psora. What is that? Soric mentals revolve around sensitivity, anxiety, timidity, irritability, anger, etc. You have all underwent all these things. Now, what are the soric physicals that revolve around pain, inflammation, fever, diarrhea? Okay. All this time, the cell was fighting a lone battle with a hostile stimulus purely using physiologic defense. The physiological defense is the most primary defense, and every being has to go through this. All of you have underwent all these things, no? We all had our own inhibitions, our own embarrassments, our own feeling of being ridiculed, etc. Everything we all had, and we have all come up. Why? Now we are not in the soaring phase. Now we have gone a little higher. It is worthwhile remembering that cell adopts the secondary defense only when the primary physiological defense has failed. The secondary defense is by bringing about structural changes and is called the morphological defense. Okay, are you all with me? After the first defense, the organism is not bound to go to the two secondary defenses in the order of SORA, psychosis, syphilis, or SORA, syphilis, psychosis. The secondary defense mechanism, as the books of pathology tell us, totally depends upon the genetic code of the individual mechanism. The primary will be the SORA, and according to the predominant trait, either the patient can go into syphilis directly or psychosis and then syphilis. If an individual has genetically acquired from his parents or acquired through syphilitic infection, the destructive element, that is the syphilis, then after the primary physiological defense, that is the SORA, the individual organism and its cells resort to the syphilitic or the destructive pathology as a response to the continued hostile stimulus. Have you understood that? So it is not a must that the person has to go from SORA to psychosis. It can even go from SORA to syphilis directly if the patient is having predominantly a syphilitic trait. Thus, in these cases, SORA, which has to be present as a base, is followed by syphilis as a secondary defense. On the other hand, the individual who has inherited the constructive element from the parents or even acquired it during the lifetime in the form of venereal disease gonorrhea will resort to constructive pathology as response to the continued hostile stimulus. If the stimulus is only for once or twice, it will be still in the soric thing. If it is a continued hostile stimulus, the SORA is fully over, the inflammatory defense is fully over, and the person is now what compelled to go to the next gear. It can be a constructive pathology, constructive stimulus, or it can be a constructive reaction, or it can be a destructive reaction. A constitution which uses constructive pathology more often and more easily due to the inherited or acquired trait in the genes is psychotic constitution. The constitution which uses destructive pathology easily and predominantly is the syphilitic constitution. In cases, one more page to go. In cases where both psychosis and syphilis have been inherited, say for example, psychosis from father and syphilis from mother, then the one which is dominant and the genes which are activated will determine the pathology or the uppermost miasm at that particular time. Okay. If syphilis is the dominant trait, then the child can suffer from destructive pathologies first. Example, in the nose, it can produce ozena, caries of nasal cartilage, or retinal degeneration, etc., at a young age. This could later on switch to psychosis or constructive defense pathologies, and the child can start showing signs of warts, excrescences, polyps, or even a brain tumor. In another child, it could be exactly opposite. But all said and done, every cell has to use primary response or physiological defense before either going to any of the secondary responses. SORA has to be the fundamental miasm before